Well, hey guys, and welcome back to another week at my Appalachian Life. It's a beautiful Saturday morning. I'm sitting outside. I just made my egg McMuffin, my homemade egg McMuffin. It just has egg and bacon bits on it. I fried the bacon and then just cut it up with scissors, and I just get it out of the freezer when I want some. So I hadn't planned on mowing this week, but I probably need to later this afternoon. They're calling for rain in the PM hours, so I just have a few hours to do whatever I want to do outside. But I bought several plants yesterday, perennials, and I'll show you what those are. So I'm trying to decide where to put them. But when I finish eating this, I'll show you what I bought. So here's most of the plants that I bought yesterday. This one, I bought 2 of these. They were half price, and it's because they were getting some little, let me get the camera down here so you can see, dried leaves on them. They just need to be fertilized and watered. But that's just to drop in some pots that I have. Get the zoom off of here so maybe it will show up better. But anyway, I just thought that was so pretty, and it's got a mandevilla in it, and I don't know what you call this tall purple burgundy flower. I don't know if it says on there or not, but anyway, that will be pretty to drop in a pot, and I've already put one in a pot on the lower carport. And then all of these were marked down to $4 each, and these are New Dimension Blue Salvia with these pretty purple blooms on it. I think I got 5 of these. And this fern, and I don't know if it says what kind. It looks like a Boston fern to me. But I'm going to plant it under the cherry tree where I've got all my landscape over on the shady side. And then back here I got these ground covers, and look at those pretty purple blooms on that. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. They were all $4 each. And then I got this rhododendron for $4. And it's a really nice size. And it blooms multiple times a year. And it's just like these that I've got over here in this landscape. And so I don't think I'm going to plant any of these today, because they're calling for temperature drop and frost this week. So I'll just keep them in the pots for now. But look what I found also yesterday. This beautiful ceramic clay pot. I call it ceramic. It's a clay pot, but it's got this real pretty glaze on the outside. It's really big and wide. And I just set it here in this landscape for the time being. But I'm going to get some plugs to plug up the hole and just fill it with water and put one of those solar fountains I told you about earlier in a video. And the birds will love this. And I just want to find the perfect spot to put it in the landscape. But look how pretty that is. So when I came home from vacation, the grass really hadn't grown that much. And I thought, oh, well, I won't mow this week. But we've had 2 small showers since I've been home, and the grass has taken off. And this is the driveway, gravel driveway, so you can't really tell there. But, yeah, the grass has taken off, so I'm going to have to mow, because if I wait a week, then I'll have to rake it. So I do need to do that today. This landscape I have not weeded out yet, so I need to get all the weeds out of that and possibly plant some of those salvia plants in this landscape. My creeping phlox is blooming still down here at the bottom, and it looks so pretty. And if you look down toward the garden, you can see Sam tilled it yesterday. So we're ready to plant our garden, and we've decided to go in together and plant both gardens here because our soil is so rich. We've amended it with horse manure over the years, and it's really good for growing vegetables. Last year I only used half of the space, and the other half I planted in zinnias, and they were absolutely beautiful. So I want zinnias this year again, but since their family is going to plant garden down here too, I'm going to put the zinnias down this area in the back of this ground cover, and I think they would be pretty blooming and growing up there. So I may do that today. Well, I just finished planting zinnia seeds down that way, and along this way I did purple coneflower seeds. And there's the zinnia seeds here that I saved last year. I've watered them in, and I hope they grow. So now the wind is beginning to pick up, so I guess I better stop where I'm at with planting and go ahead and get on the mower and start mowing. Hey y'all, welcome to my Appalachian Life. We're in the kitchen today, and that was my beeper. My microwave just went off where I'm melting some butter. So this, let me get this out so it doesn't keep beeping. Today I've decided to bake a cake and a batch of cookies for my neighbors that are so good to me. They help me all the time, and they just bless me in ways that you just can't imagine. So they have 4 children, 3 at home, 1 in college. And so today I'm going to bake them a cake. They had requested a few weeks ago a cake, and I asked what kind they wanted. Well, one of them wanted coconut, but another one didn't like coconut, but they all liked chocolate. So I made them a chocolate cake. So for the one that requested coconut, I'm going to make a coconut cake today for that person or anyone else that likes the coconut. And for those who don't like coconut, I'm going to make a batch of cookies. So that's what I'm doing this afternoon. So the coconut cake they requested is one. Let me put this cover back in the microwave. The coconut cake that I make that everyone likes, especially Joe's sons, they always request it for their birthday, which tomorrow is their birthday. But I made it for Easter, and another one likes butterscotch. So for their birthdays, they're twins, I'm going to make a butterscotch dessert for them. But anyway, today is coconut cake day. So I'm going to make it last. I'm going to get the cookies started first, and we're making Cowboy cookies. Now, I got this recipe from a friend I worked with back in the late 70s and mid-80s to mid-80s. He's passed on now, but he brought these cookies to work, and everybody loved them, and he shared the recipe, and they're actually called Cowboy cookies. And so that's what I'm going to make. But I may tweak it just a little bit. When I make them, I usually add some coconut in it, but I won't this time because it's going to a family that has one person that doesn't like coconut, has chocolate chips and raisins and nuts in it. So instead of the raisins, I think I'm going to use these dried cranberries that I have. So to get started on these, and I just have to show you this recipe. When Joe and I were married, newly married, probably after a couple of years, I put together a recipe book of some of our favorite recipes. His boys were getting to where they were out on their own, and they liked to cook. So I just put a bunch of recipes together in a little book with pictures of the family and some scripture quotes with it, and some just motivational quotes at the bottom of the sheet. Well, this one for the Cowboy cookies has a picture of me and my horse Skipper, where we were at a horse show. And yes, this is all black and white. And it's got the recipe for the Cowboy cookies. And you might want to pause this, but I don't know how well you can see it because there might be a reflection of light ring in there. But on the quote on the bottom says, "He who angers you controls you." And the caption under the picture says, Joanna and I skipped to cash, or Skipper. Skipper was her barn name. Her registered name was I skipped to cash. So let's get started on these cookies. And we needed to start with a cup of melted butter. So that's what I was doing when I started this video. I melted 2 sticks of butter in here, and I'm going to add a cup of brown sugar. This is a 4th cup measuring cup. So there's 1, 2, 3, almost took the rest of the bag here. 4 is 1 cup, and I need 3/4 cup of white sugar. So let me get that tie back on there. And I think this is a 1/2 cup in my sugar. That's a 1/2 cup. So there's 1/2 cup plus 1/4 makes 3/4 cup. And I need 2 eggs. I've got them here, and I'll just crack these right in. Have to be careful not to get any eggshell in your bowl, and I should put you down here so you can see what I'm doing. It's 2 eggs in the bowl. And I'm going to wash my hands and get my mixer out. Now I'm just going to mix this together. Okay, so I have this mixed up, and I'm going to just set it to the side, and I'm going to measure out my dry ingredients now. So to this bowl, I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and I'm going to add a teaspoon of baking soda. I love these little Pampered Chef measuring spoons. They just slide for the measurements, so you don't have multiple spoons to keep up with. But as they age, it gets loose, so you have to make sure that's on there for the right amount that you need. It hasn't slidden off. So that's a teaspoon of baking soda. I need a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Change that to a 1/2 teaspoon. Felt a little hard down in there. There's a 1/2 teaspoon. And we need a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to stir all of this together. And I'm going to add it to, let's see, where is my... I'm still not finding things since I put things back in the kitchen. I haven't remembered where I put what, so it takes me a while to find things. But I'm just taking this whisk and whisking all the dry ingredients together. I'm getting some lumps out. And now I'm going to add that to this mixture, a little at a time. Okay, so I've took the beater out and just took a big heavy spoon and scraped the sides down and just give it a good stir. So now we're going to add the fillers to the batter. And that is going to start with a teaspoon of vanilla. There's my teaspoon. 1 teaspoon vanilla. 2 cups of oatmeal. I still have my 4th cup laying out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 1 cup. Let me just go ahead and stir that in before I put all 2 cups in there. I use the hand spoon at this point because it's really thick, and too thick really for your electric mixer, hand mixer. If you have a heavy duty stand mixer, I'm sure it would handle it. But I just like doing it by hand like this and just fold it in. So 1 more cup of oatmeal. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm using Quaker oats, the old-fashioned oats. So I'm going to stir that in. I have my oven preheating at 350 degrees, and I've got 2 large cookie sheets sprayed. I couldn't find my parchment paper. It's here somewhere, so I just went ahead and sprayed the pans. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to add is a cup of chocolate chips. Whatever kind you want to use, you can use a semi-sweet, dark chocolate, milk chocolate. I have milk chocolate open, so that's what I'm going to use. So it's a cup of chocolate chips. One, 2, makes a half a cup. 3 and 4. If you get a little extra in, all the better. So I'll mix these chocolate chips into the batter. Just fold them in. And you can put any kind of filler you like. You can put dried fruit in it. You can use coconut. You can use any kind of nut that you want. I'm going to use pecans, chopped pecans. So it calls for a cup of raisins. I'm going to use these dried cranberries is what I'm going to use. And check my oven. Yeah. I think because it's new, it's still giving off odors. And I wanted to make sure I didn't leave something in there and it was burning. But I didn't. It's a half a cup. 3/4 cup. Okay. Let me use just a few more. Okay, I found another bag that was opened. That was 3/4 of a cup, so I don't need but just a few more. There we go. That makes a cup of dried cranberries. And let me mix this up good. You don't even need a hand mixer. You could mix all of this up by hand. If you have some strong hands and strong arms. Okay, you get way down in there. All right, the last thing I'm going to add is some nuts. and it calls for a half a cup of chopped nuts. So I'm using chopped pecans today, and that's what I most always use. I'm not a walnut fan. So here is the half a cup of nuts. I need to wash my hands because I've got batter all over me. Well, once again, I couldn't find my cookie scoop. That looks like an ice cream scoop. I'll have to find it later. So in the meantime, I got my ice cream scoop out. So I'm going to scoop the batter into the pans. And let me clean up here just a minute and put some stuff away and get my pans over here. Okay, so I've sprayed the pan with some cooking spray, and I'm going to dip this ice cream scoop in some water and just scoop out a little bit of cookie dough, and I just mash it down a little bit. This scoop might even work better than the one that has the slider thing on it. So that's how I do it. I'll keep filling the pan and get it in the oven. So I've got the first batch of cookies in the oven and the second batch ready to go in when that comes out. And I still have about a half a pan of dough left. So that will make plenty of cookies. So you bake these cookies at 350 degrees, anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes. You just want to keep an eye on them. When they start looking a little golden around the edges, you know they're done. You don't want them to get really golden brown because they'll be too hard. So once you see that golden ring around the edge of the cookies, go ahead and set them out. They'll just be lightly browned on top, but you don't want them to bake so long they get hard. So when they come out, I'll show you what they look like. Okay, it's been 14 minutes. Let me check the cookies. Oh yeah, that is perfect. Let me turn that off. Can you see how lightly brown they are on top, and around the edges they're a little more golden brown? That is what you want. And these are going to be some yummy cookies. I'll let these cool while the other ones are in the oven baking. I'm going to leave them in the pan for a little bit, and then I'll transfer them over to a cooling rack. But in goes the second batch. Set my timer. 14 minutes is what that was. Okay, so that's 3, 6, 9, 12 per sheet. And I probably have another half batch left, so that'd be 6, 24, makes about 30 cookies. So that'll be plenty for their family. So this was my recipe sheet, and on the other side are recipes for almond delight, which is really good. I'll have to make that for us sometime. And pig pecan cake. I'm sure you all have had that. That was popular back in the 70s and 80s. And the quote on the bottom of this says, "He who is good at making excuses is seldom good for anything else." And that is so true. Stop making excuses. Do what you're supposed to do. Anyway, we'll be back. So one of the cookies broke in two while it was cooling over here on the rack. And look how delicious that cookie looks. I'm going to go ahead and eat this half that broke in two. It's still warm. So good and chewy. It's crunchy on the outside and chewy. Muffin, did you hear it make a noise? I think it's because I turned it off and then back on, so it went through a preheat thing, although it was already at the temperature. But I think that's why it was beeping on me. So anyway, got the last pan in, and then we'll make the coconut cake. But these are delicious, guys. You like them. Okay, all the cookies are baked. I've got them over here cooling. And while they're cooling, I'm going to mix up the cake for the coconut cake. So all you do for this is use a boxed cake mix and follow the directions on the back of the box. I have sprayed a 19 by 9 by 11, 9 by 13. I'll get it right in a minute. Oh, it's been a long day. 9 by 13 pan. I sprayed it with cooking spray. I've got the cake mix and the eggs and the oil and the water in a bowl here. And I'm going to just mix this up real good. Okay. Get the beaters out. And get a spatula. I use this one. I'm just going to go around it with the spatula to make sure all the dry ingredients are mixed in here. That's hanging onto the sides. And I'm going to pour it into this 9 by 13 cake pan. This looks like it's more like a lasagna pan. Got it at the Dollar Tree. I always try to put things in disposable dishes when I'm taking it to someone so they don't have to worry about bringing my dishes back. Okay. Got all of that out now. My hands are clean. Okay, the oven is still heated at 350 degrees, so I'm going to put this cake pan, I'm going to give it just a tap to get any air bubbles out of the pan, out of the batter. Put it in the oven. And I'm going to set it for 29 minutes. And I'll check it and see if it needs to bake any further. But it might be done. With the new oven, I just don't know. Some ovens cook faster than others. But once the cake is done, we're going to take a wooden spoon with a rounded handle on it like this. And we're going to take that and just poke holes all over the top of that cake as soon as I bring it out of the oven. Then I'm going to mix together a can of Eagle Brand Condensed Milk and 8 ounces of Creme of Coconut. Let me see what I did with that bottle of Creme of Coconut. There it is. I still have some of this left from where I made the coconut cake at Easter for the boys. But this is the Creme of Coconut that I use. And you use 8 ounces with the Eagle Brand milk and blend that together real good and pour it all over the top of that warm cake after you poked holes in it. And then you just let it cool. And when it's completely cool, you're going to put Cool Whip on top of it and sprinkle some coconut on top of that. And that's all there is to it. And it's a delicious cake. Everyone loves it. So anyway, I'll be back when the cake comes out. All right, the cake is out of the oven, and I'm just going to take this spoon and go all over the cake. Poking holes. That's why it's called a poke cake, coconut poke cake. Now I'm going to mix together the Eagle Brand and the Creme of Coconut. So I've got the Eagle Brand in here, and there's 14 ounces in this can. So I need 8 ounces of Creme of Coconut. So I'm going to pour about half of this can full. And that will be about 8 ounces. And that'll be good. Stir this up until it's well blended. And we're going to pour it all over this cake. And I'm going to set it on something more level. I can't put anything hot on this quartz countertop. I'll just get another large pot holder here. Same size. That works. And I'm going to take this out from the corners and put up around the cake so it's not so soggy at the corners. Now I'm just going to let this sit here and cool. Once it's cooled, I'll put a layer of Cool Whip on top and sprinkle coconut on it. All right, the cake is semi-cooled. I think it'll be okay to go ahead and put this Cool Whip on it and get it over to the neighbors. They'll be leaving in probably the next 30 minutes or so because the kids have a band concert tonight. So I want them to have this. They can stick it in their fridge real quick before they leave and have it when they get home tonight for a nice treat. So I'm just going to spread this tub of coconut. It's just a normal size tub. It's not the jumbo size. This cake is so easy. You can just make it in a hurry, and everybody loves it. Get all that Cool Whip out. I miss my little trooper doggy. Whenever I made coconut cake or anything that I used Cool Whip with, he stood here at my feet till I gave him what was left in the bowl, and he would lick it all out. He was so sweet. He's been gone for 2 years now. I still miss him. Okay, there is the Cool Whip on top. I'm just going to spread that real quick. Put that in the corners. Now, let me rinse my hand. I will take the coconut, and I'm using Baker's coconut, and just sprinkle all on top. I'm going to use just a little bit more out of the new bag here. All right. It's a clump. I don't want the clump. All right, that's it. I'll get this covered up and make a delivery. So I've got the cake covered, the cookies in 2-gallon Ziploc bags, and I'm going to run this next door.